Hello friends, Adam here with FED. Recently I put up a poll asking you guys if you like using Armor Knights in Fire Emblem, and a large majority of you said yes. So we're going to respond to your comments about why you like them or maybe why some of you don't like them, and we're going to respond to them, so that'll be fun. But before we get started, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to reach 25,000 subs before the end of the year. Even if we just hit 20,000, I'll be very happy. So please subscribe. It would mean a lot. Alright, so now for the most popular comment, or the comment that got the most likes, we have Zoe Sakura, who says, "I love the aesthetic of Armor Knights, and the feeling a solid one can deliver. I remember Gatry dominating some maps on Radiant Dawn. What I don't love is how slow they are. I get that that's the point, and why they feel so good when they eventually connect, but it's hard for them to keep up with their allies' inexperience." And next we also have Jerry, who says, "I like the concept of Armor Knights, but they're often unable to do their job effectively. They only reliably stay in the front line for the first turn, otherwise they just get outmoved by other units. It's tough to balance at the same time though, because they would be broken with too much move. I'd love to see something done to Armor Knights, I just don't know what." So yeah, low move is the most commonly cited issue for Armor Knights, right? You know, I think a lot of times we really get caught up with that and like tier lists and stuff too. You know, if you guys watch some other Fire Emblem YouTubers that are really into the more, I don't want to say competitive, but like meta side of Fire Emblem, move is like generally the most important stat talked about, right? So low move is kind of a big deal. But as Zoe points out, they just look sick. They feel good to use. And that's a really big selling point in a single player game, right? But Jerry brings up the interesting thought of fixing them, but do they really need to be fixed at this point? And talk more about that. We're gonna look at another comment. This is from Bry Guy, who says, "I actually really enjoy using Armor Knights. I understand that puts me in the minority," which it's funny you say that because really I don't think that does put you in the minority. It's just a vocal minority that doesn't like doing them. So I think you're in the majority. So good for you. But I love putting Raphael into Do in armor in Three Houses. Maybe I got RNG blessed, but they were able to enemy phase an enemy or two on Maddening, which sufficed. Armored Blow is one of the lesser player phase abilities, but it can have some niche uses, which really saved my runs a few times. Dedu's staunch shield ability also really helps put him into a good enemy phase position." And I agree with this. You know, Armor Knights finally found a good home in Three Houses. And generally because they're Armor Knights, get it. Generally, armors have defense that is over the top for the enemy quality in a game, meaning a unit who has a good defense but maybe not as good as an Armor Knight will perform similarly, like a Paladin, for instance. A lot of times, the defense that an Armor Knight has, or a General has, or a Fortress Knight has, I guess, if we're using newer terminology, is over the top. But if you play Three Houses on Maddening, I think that is where these high defense units shine, because you don't have very many units that can face tank. Really, Fortress Knights are some of the only classes that can reliably face tank on enemy phase on Maddening in Three Houses. So I think fixing Armor Knights seems to have more to do with fixing enemies. They need to hit hard enough for the extreme defense to matter. So again, just having an insanely high defense doesn't matter all that much when the enemies don't hit hard enough for all of your defense to really make a difference, right? So that's why in like the GBA games you have characters like Marcus and Seth, whose defense is really good, or like good enough, and that's all you need, compared to someone like Oswin, whose defense is insanely good, right? But it's over the top. You don't need defense that good. Also in those games, it's really easy to like dodge tank and stuff, so that's a thought too. Maybe not really easy, but it's easier. So those are my thoughts on like fixing Armor or Fortress Knight. Really, it's less about fixing the class and more about the game itself and how it's made. I think also Fates does a good job of making Armor Knights really stand out and special, especially Lunatic Conquest and even Hard Conquest, making enemies really powerful. So that's a interesting thought too. All right, now moving on to some other comments. I just have a couple more I want to get to that have an interesting point to talk about. First, we have Tez, who says, "I really like solid Armor Knights. It's fun seeing enemies tink on your armor. And also Flame Path, who says, I just love the satisfaction of getting attacked only to be greeted with a 0 damage tank. And really, I mentioned it already, but that's what it comes down to, especially in a single player game, is the cool factor. Fire Emblem is ultimately a video game that we play to have fun, right? So however you want to play is great, and if that includes using a bunch of Armor Knights, you do you. You play the game that you want to play. Again, we so often get caught up in these tier lists and like playing efficiently or LTC, you know, low turn count and stuff like this, that we kind of miss out on the fun of it. And to even a further degree, I think we kind of hurt the fun of these games for other people. So we had like Bry Guy's comment, who said, you know, he said that he thinks he's in the minority for liking to use Armor Knights. When we look at the poll, and maybe it's just my community bias or something, we look at the poll and it's obvious that the majority of people enjoy using Armor Knights. So that's not a minority, that's a majority. But I think there's a very vocal minority that really cares about the meta side of Fire Emblem in the single player game, right? Where they want to beat the game quickly or use the best units possible or whatever else. When what the average player should be focusing on is what's the most fun. How can you have the most fun while playing this game? And if that means using a big tanky Dedue or a soft and squishy Petra or something, it doesn't matter. As long as you yourself are having fun. Anyways, that's going to do it for today. Make sure to like the video to help other people find it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more Fire Emblem content. And, of course, comment your thoughts. What do you think of Armor Knights? What do you think of the discussion today? How would you fix them? Do they need to be fixed? Is it just the cool factor? Do you think that the majority of people actually like using Armor Knights, but it's really just like a vocal minority who really care about beating the game quickly and stuff like that, that are the ones to blame for the Armor Knight hate? Not to blame, I shouldn't say blame, but the ones that make people feel dumb about using them, I guess. I guess that's what I wonder. Anyways, thanks for watching, friends. Really appreciate everyone who does stick it out to the end. It means a lot. You guys are awesome. And I will catch you next time.